So as we begin our time together this afternoon, we'll say thank you, good afternoon, bonjour, chumanam, depending on where you're joining us from. We want to say thank you to everybody who's decided to participate with us this afternoon for the session. Listen up, school's out for the summer. We know that summer camp is beneficial for youth and even our parents in many ways, including the development of important social, emotional, and cognitive skills. And children who attend camps, summer camps specifically, create memories to last a lifetime. They develop lifelong skills, and they also learn several things in their life. It promotes their independence, teaches them teamwork and resiliency. It encourages playtime, fosters growth and self-esteem. It provides screen-free time. It connects youth with nature when they're outdoors. It keeps our youth intellectually engaged, and it gives youth a sense of purpose. And so today we have Dr. Brenda Dalton, who will be sharing some of the information and how we can provide routine for our children to maintain a healthy life. This session will offer parents and families, educators, people who work with our Native children to keep children active with healthy and safe opportunities during the summer months. A little bit of housekeeping as we get ready to go forward. I want to please remind everybody to be respectful of other people's points of view. We all have a lot of wonderful experiences that we bring to the table, and it's really important that we listen to what others are doing and learn from others who are actually out there in the field working with children, and those of us who are raising children and grandchildren and nieces and nephews. And so I want to say, please be mindful to listen and be respectful. The session is being recorded. So also, if you want to please mute yourselves as we get ready to start, that'd be very helpful to us. If you have questions or comments, you're welcome to post them in the chat, or you can write down your thoughts and then share them with us at the end of today's session. Our presenter will be happy to entertain questions and help guide you in some solutions to some things that you're looking forward to planning. We are going to have a evaluation at the end of today's session, and in the chat, I'll be posting the code for that, as well as the QR little image, so that people can take time to give us their thoughts, give us a reflection, share with us what you learned about today, because this helps us in many ways. So please be mindful of that code when you see it in the chat box. Dr. Brenda, could I invite you to go ahead and move forward to the next slide? Thank you. When you look at this image, it helps you understand who we serve. We serve Native American, Alaska Native children across the country. We are the National Center for American Indian Alaska Native Mental Health Technology Transfer Center with the K-12 initiative, focusing on mental health. We're located at the University of Iowa as a part of the national MHTTC. We serve everybody across the country with the exception of Hawaii. We provide technical assistance for our communities, our tribal schools, BIE schools, and other public and private schools on reservation lands. We have several ongoing initiatives and projects for American Indian and Alaska Native communities. Next slide. We are funded generously by SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. The content of this event is the creation of the presenters, and the opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of SAMHSA, HHS, or the American Indian Alaska Native MHTTC. As I mentioned earlier, at the end of today's event, you'll be seeing the code, the hyperlink for the evaluation, which really helps us. So make sure you see that and take care of that at the end of the session, or not later on today or over the weekend. You'll also be given as a follow-up an email that gives you the slide deck for today and any other additional resources that Dr. Brenda will be through the presentation. At the University of Iowa, it's really important that we take time to acknowledge the land in which the university sits. This land acknowledgement that you see before you was created by 3 of our team members, Ella Driscoll, Keely Driscoll, and Sean Bear. I'd like to invite you to take a few moments to please read this. Next slide. To be able to put on these opportunities, present these opportunities for our audience, we have a team that thinks about it, processes, and research what is important to our American Indian, Alaska Native community members who are serving our children. We have our co-director, Teresa Brewington, who oversees the Native Child Traumatic Stress Initiative, Category 2, as well as the co-director. She's an enrolled member of the Kahari tribe and a descendant of the Lumbee tribe. She holds 2 master's degrees and has served Native populations across the country. Her last position was as an elementary school principal, serving Native children at the Meskwaki settlement, where she currently resides with her husband and her granddaughter. I'm Dr. Allison Bays, and I serve as the program manager. I'm Tapi Pelam Huaytecan Nation from South Texas. I have over 25 years of experience serving Native children across the country with different tribal communities. I really want to know what your needs are and how we can serve you better, because I want to continue to serve Native populations as we share, collaborate, and educate on culturally responsive approaches, methodologies that are most appropriate. We also have a team of our graduate research assistants. Here you see 4 of them who serve directly in the K-12 program, all focusing on either school psychology, mental health, mental public health, or school counseling. As we get ready to listen from Dr. Brenda Dalton, who's Lumbee and holds a PhD in philosophy, curriculum instruction, and counselor education from North Carolina State University. She has licenses as a North Carolina licensed mental health counselor supervisor and a nationally certified counselor. She also has a master's degree in school counseling with a certification in educational administration and supervision and a bachelor's degree in elementary education. She's a resident of Pembroke Community and a retired educator. She's a grassroots founder and leader for the Old Mainstream Academy, a charter school that will serve K through 5 in the next upcoming years. And she's also the founder and consultant for Cinnamon Wit. She also has continued to teach at UNC Pembroke in the school counseling department. And so as we begin to welcome Dr. Brenda Dalton, I want to invite somebody in our audience to offer prayer, to offer thoughts, to offer wisdom, or to offer a song.
This is Carol. I can do a prayer.
Thank you.
Okay, Creator, the Father of all of us above, prayers, hear them from us. We are grateful for this good day. Creator, you bring us good health and life, and we are grateful for all you give us. I am glad we are here and we have come here today. Help us as we work together. Watch over each and every one of us and bless all of them who have come. And I ask for special blessings for those who are going to be out there taking care of our young ones, and take care of them and offer them extra blessings. Amen. Equian.
For taking care of that for us. And so now I turn the floor over to Dr. Brenda Dalton.
I was muted. So I'm going to put the grid down, and now you can see, I'm going to start this is some of the things that we'll be reviewing today. I want to look at human development, the summer slide, look at milestones, CAP awareness, the child's job, which is the process of learning, parenting thoughts, and ideals for continuing and enriching holistic education. So today we're looking at school is out for summer, and now what do we do? For us, I think in our school we have 20, some of the other schools have about 25 days remaining. So we are on that, we're on that slide right now to start. And one of the first things that I wanted to really talk about is the developmental domains in people and look at how that is really established. People often don't think about that, but it's important. Here in the center is the cultural piece, and those domains, those influences impact every one of the developmental stages in a child. So if you look at the moral development, the self and social understanding, the physical development, the emotional development, personality and social development, language, cognitive, biological, and the environmental. So every one of those can be and are affected daily by the family, the home, extended family, community, socioeconomics, social issues, and emotional well-being. So if we looked at that just a little bit deeper, and I have it color-coded just so you know, if you look at right in the center, it's still the cultural. But if you look over, for example, at the top one here, you see that some of those influences can be environmental foundations in development and birth. Then connected that is the heredity, environment, behavior, genetic environment, and then look at the brain development, especially with the highlighted areas are those pieces that I want you to notice. When you're looking at cognitive development, we're looking at attention, problem solving, how we define intelligence, our mental representation, metacognitive knowledge, all of those pieces affect our cognitive development. When you look at language development and how you communicate clearly, those have pre-linguistic development, the phonics, grammatical development, all of that. And as you can tell, even like when I'm speaking, you can really detect my southernness, even though I've worked really hard at that, it still emerges. And it's not something, it's just simply from my language development. Then when you're looking at your emotional development, specifically these highlighted areas, look at your relationships and the basic trusts, emotional development, health development, development of attachment and self-awareness. All of that is extremely critical to our children. And then looking at physical development, the brain development again with body growth. And all of that is very impacted by your sleep habits, your nutrition, your motor development, and gross and fine motor development. The physical development, every one of these domains, you can look at that and you can understand even during summer, those still are growing and developing. And then the last ones here, social and self and social understanding, looking at emergence of self and development of self-concept, self-esteem, which are influences, constructing an identity, relations, understanding conflict. And then the moral development is social understanding, self-control, development of aggression, community influences, and modeling. And again, I highlighted those that specifically or more dominantly impact the social, self and social understanding and moral development. So how does all of that impact summer slide or summer learning loss? Well, first we need to think about what summer setback is. So that's when learning loss is when students return to school at a lower academic level than at the end of the school last year. So we're coming up at the end. And what happens during the summer really impacts when school begins, where those students are, how they start out their school year. So often that happens when the child doesn't use or practice the academic skills that he or she learned during the school year and during summer vacation. In other words, there's a lot of downtime where the brain and just development is not engaged. So 100% of all kids experience summer learning loss if they don't engage in educational activities over the summer. A recent study found that the average student lost about 17 to 34% of the prior year's learning gains during summer break. And as well as that, students who lose ground in one summer are more likely to lose ground in subsequent summers. So it's a cumulative effect. And then, you know, I would like to also add, because we have issues in our schools sometimes with being tardy, which is instructional loss, or absenteeism. So all of that impacts not only the development, but also instructional gain or loss for the student. So summer slide actually reverses some of the progress students have made over the year, and then achievement disparities disproportionately widen during the summer. And, you know, this has been also exacerbated by the longer summer because of COVID and the pandemic. And, you know, we're still fighting some of those effects. So that's worth considering as well. So because summer losses accumulate over time, those losses add up to a sizable impact on where students end up on the achievement distribution. And as everyone here knows, historically, our students, Native students, have lagged behind all other populations academically. So what is play to a child? First of all, you know, I want to consider that when we're thinking about the spectrum of development. Well, play is actually the work of children. That is a process for developing. It consists of those activities performed for self-amusement that have behavioral, social, and psychomotor rewards. It can be child-directed, and the rewards usually come from within the individual child. It's enjoyable, and often it can be spontaneous, but it also can be structured as well. So here's a quote, and I you know, it really impacted me. When you use your imagination, it informs your heart. When you use your mind, it informs your intellect. So when imagination and intellect is used together, the truth is understood in a way that cannot be understood in any other way. I think that right there sums up why we must give our children opportunity to engage in imagination, which is creativity and creative activities, but also academic, because it does inform, it grows the intellect. The father of kindergarten said that play is the highest expression of human development in childhood. For it alone is the free expression of what is in a child's soul. Again, you know, that speaks volumes, because children naturally love discovery in nature, music, movement, and rhymes. In play, children construct their understanding of the world through direct experience. And I want to say that this is not only for our little ones, it's also for middle school children as well. You know, I wanted to look at the milestones for early and middle childhood. So at 4 to 5 years, they walk downstairs, they run, they gallop, they throw ball with increased body rotation, and they can ride a tricycle. One of the things that I love to do, and I as an elementary teacher, I love to get even my first graders. I taught first grade and I taught third grade, but the first graders, I like for them to watch them skip. You know, if you have a child or children that are around 4 or 5, ask them to skip, like skip to my Lou. And it's just amazing how they try to you know, balance themselves with that. At 5 to 6 years old, they start increasing running speed, they gallop, they learn how to display mature whole body throwing and catching patterns, they ride bicycles with training wheels. And then from 7 to 12, there is an increased running speed. They display continuous flid skipping and sideways stepping, and they like to vertically jump, they like to throw and kick. They catch smiles that involves the whole body. But, I think that important message here is that we must encourage that as well. I think it's telling, I don't know how many of you, but I now have a watch that tells me if I've been sitting down too long. And that did not happen when I was a child. As a child, I would get up, I would move. But now, because sometimes I am so connected to the computer, I'm connected to work, that I have to have something to remind me. I have something to remind me to get enough exercise in every day. But if we don't lay that foundation for our children, then that doesn't exist. I think that it also talks about why we need to establish those developmental domains are very critical in establishing kind of like the framework for summer camp. Because during summer camp, we have to consider what is the right fit for the child's personality. You can get all those activities that we discussed, but we need to make sure for each child that it is the right fit. What kind of camp would your child enjoy? Do you want your child to become better at a particular skill or a sport? Or do you want it more for small group remediation, for a learning disability, or enrichment even? So, there's different kinds of camps to consider. You can do day camp, sleep away camp. The camp focus should be about sports or academics or, reading clinics, those types of things. And then you want to consider the other kids. What should you do if your child has a special need? Those are some of the things that are really important. But, the other thing is, I know when we here in my community, when we're talking about camps, and we have a lot of opportunity now, and you're going to see some of that. But a lot of times our children like to go to camps together. That's a security. So when you're considering what kind of camp, it's helpful sometimes if you have a good friend or a cousin that would attend the camp as well. So what does camp experiences do? Well, they can increase a child's confidence. They impact self-esteem, social skills, independence, leadership qualities. They foster that sense of adventure, and they have a positive connection to nature. So all of that, if you will think about it, it goes back to those domains, those developmental domains that we talked about. So it developed lifelong skills. A lot of those skills, they also take those into adulthood and in leadership roles. It does promote independence, like teaching responsibility. It encourages exploration, makes time for play, and it is still structured, but it's more relaxed. It teaches teamwork, resiliencies. And, one of the most important things is it provides fun, screen-free activities. It's been found and documented that children can spend up to more than 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen. So, similar to what, sometimes that we as adults do. But we allow them to engage in these activities, and it really makes their brain soft. So again, you want to think about that. A lot of times those devices include TV, computer playing of a video game, a mobile device. So camp allows them to have those structured activities that engage their mind. It also encourages a connection with nature, and it fosters growth. One of the biggest benefits of summer camp is it takes children out of their comfort zone and pushes them to try new things. As well as they can explore their established interests. So it helps them to grow. So, some of the other things that you want to consider about camp is what location is best for your child. With my children, and both my children are adults now, but they participated in camps that were local, but they also attended camps that were away. My oldest grandson this summer will be going to Cummings Aerospace Camp, and that has been through. He was selected to go to that camp through our local tribe. So there are some things like that will support kids, whether it's local or it's away. So you have to think about it. What is the ideal distance that you're comfortable with from home for your child? How rustic should it be? What is the session length? Or what is the ideal session length? Does your child have special needs? Is there training for the people on site there? What about evening hours? Is there training, and is there camp counselors, and do they sleep in the cabins to kind of supervise? And are parents allowed to communicate with their children? Are there visiting days? What is the schedule? And also, what happens if your child has a medical need or emotional or social problem? Is that addressed up front? And can you talk about that? And especially if your child takes medication, and what happens, because often children do get homesick. So how do they handle separation anxiety? I want to go back into looking at the child's job. So young children need to enjoy the process of learning instead of focusing on performance. And oftentimes camp activities encourages that. It also encourages emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is as important, and some studies say more important than just intelligence. So EQ, or emotional quotient, is the ability to understand, manage, and evaluate your own emotions as well as other people's. It's the ability to understand that emotions affect our behavior and the way we interact with people. So it's defined by self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness, and relationship management. And often, you will hear, if people have high EQ, they know how to negotiate. That's something that's often missing in a lot of times in the workplace. So a lot of times supervisors or bosses, management, look for those people that they know will have high EQ, because you can grow a person in skills, but a lot of times you cannot grow their emotional intelligence. I want to talk also about some of the fun movement benefits. So we need a daily 60 minutes to increase the heart rate. So some of those ways we can do that is organized youth sports. Coaches and parents should encourage children's effort and skill gains, not emphasize winning all the time. We want to make physical activity a part of the daily routine, whether they're at camp or they're at home. And then, we want to keep a variety of games and sports equipment on hand, and it doesn't really have to be expensive at all. So some of the things that I wanted to mention is over here on the right hand side, and it's just about getting up and moving. So looking at soccer or powwow dancing and native stickball dance, outside, just used to, when we were little, parents would say go outside and play. And even though now we have to supervise because, maybe it's not as safe, we still need to allow our kids to have some of that free time to go outside and run and chase balls. Swimming, even cutting grass and yard work it counts, because, it increases the heart rate. Other things that you might want to consider: volleyball, gymnastics, baseball. If a lot of people love the baseball and the t-ball and the softball, horseback riding, rock climbing, working in the garden. All of these activities increase the heart rate, and it's something that they can do at camp, but it's also something that we can do as family. Painting, that's one of the our activities that you can do at home, and it's relatively inexpensive, but it also helps muscle control, eye-hand coordination. It allows the child to convey ideals, express emotion, use their senses, explore color, explore process and outcomes. All these pieces, and that's actually here at my house. And I gave no directions other than, I'd like to have a picture to put on my refrigerator. And that, of course, you can see was the outcome. So what are some creative activities for kids at home? Because we want to make sure that the children are learning, having fun, and making memories. Well, part of the routine should be to read daily. Children should read out loud. It can also be planned as a part of bedtime. Even older children love to be read to, even though they might not admit it. I know, my son was like in the fourth grade, and we were reading novels at night, and he still liked for me to read to him out of that novel. I mean, it gives you the opportunity to hear them talk. They will discuss, and it also, allows them to use their imagination to think about it. And you can kind of be really expressive when you're reading, and it kind of like it actually creates the scene. So reading out loud is also a way to discuss feelings and to discuss decision making. Would you have done that if you were in that situation? Another thing is cooking with your children, planting herbs and vegetables, or gardening, and that's nutritional. Take mini trips. One of the things, because I didn't have a lot of money when my children were, when we were at home together. So some of the mini trips we would take maybe just to McDonald's to get an ice cream, or to the library. They could play on the equipment, and then we could come in and have ice cream. And also just using your imagination at home, play pretend games like building forts out of blankets and chairs in the living room. And then also arts and crafts, using old items like food containers and buttons, cards, magazines, newspapers. I kind of collect that and keep that, so that when I have one of my grands over, I have a small child, those are some of the things that I can pull out and like be spontaneous with creativity. And then even watching shows and movies together can be a fun, and a memory making opportunity, especially when you discuss it. I also wanted to talk about the biology of bad decision making in teens. Now, if we were to do all of the things that we talked about previously, the likelihood that the decision making, the bad decision making, is decreased. Now, that's just the probability. It's not to say that people are not going to make bad decisions, because we all do. But when you give them the opportunity to problem solve, it decreases the probability that they're going to, it's not that they won't get in a bad situation, but it is such that it helps them to problem shoot and think about, well, what should I do? I wanted to talk just a moment about brain studies, because it's important. The frontal lobe, which is responsible for decision making, impulse control, sensation seeking, emotional responses, and consequential thinking, it does not finish developing until our mid-20s. And, that's really important. And I think one of the most impactful moments that I had is, I was with my sister one day. I have a sister who is 17 months older than I am. So we're close in age, but we had her teenage daughter with us. And she was going to tell her mom what she wanted to do. And my sister looked at her and said, she says, no, you're not going to do that. And of course, my niece challenged her. And her mom looked at her. She says, I'm making this decision because your brain's not fully developed yet. I mean, and that was it. It cut off the conversation. But, the thing about harmful decision making, when kids are not allowed, or they don't have these opportunities to develop these domains, the brain development and the problem solving and the creativity, is that they do make choices on impulse, and they focus on short-term goals. Or, even, self. They focus a lot on self. They have difficulty delaying gratification. They will succumb to peer pressure, and they don't think about consequences of their choices. And they love to seek excitement and engage in risk-taking behavior. Now, I want to make sure that you do understand, it does not mean that because you're giving these opportunities to children that they don't have this risk-taking attribute, because often they will. But it's just that we are helping them to develop the areas so that they will at least consider, well, if I do that, what are the possible outcomes? And is it worth it? That's where we kind of want to get to. And I also wanted to like acknowledge that parenting is one of the hardest things to do in life. It does require structure. If we are going to do good parenting, we have to provide structure, because routines help children to feel safe, and it helps them to develop those life skills and build healthy habits. Knowing what's going to happen next gives children security and emotional stability. It helps them to learn trust, so they don't have those abandonment issues. And along with that is consistency. Why is consistency important for kids? Because they know what to expect. So in other words, especially in discipline. So if you know that you have, the child has done something wrong, even when it's a toddler, it takes a lot of energy to consistently get up and deal with it. It's just hard to get up on a consistent basis. Sometimes you think to yourself, I just don't want to have to, like the umpteenth time today, say, stop opening the refrigerator door. So, this is one of the things we need to have consistency. We need to have routine. So as they grow, they learn that certain behaviors lead to certain outcomes, and it shapes whether your child will repeat that behavior in the future. And then recognizing how we as adults and parents prioritize. That's what parenting also can do. What do we prioritize? Is it time? Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it our personal lives, our freedom, our social life, our careers? It really kind of makes us confront our own limitations and our strengths. So those are some of the things that occur. And then, of course, we always need self-care, because the only way that we can really be good parents is to make sure that we're taking time to take care of ourselves. Here's a parenting thought. One of the most powerful tools is your ability to listen. Your child has a story they'd love to tell daily and usually hourly. And they need to know that you are someone who cares deeply. And that's one of the easy things to do, I guess. You can listen to your child. Sometimes it is hard, because they'll call you like 50 times within 30 minutes. But if you listen, if you get yourself in the habit of listening, then that sends a clear message to your child that they're loved. What about parent guilt? Because this slide here, parent guilt, is that sometimes we don't do things right, we don't make the right decisions, we mess up, and we could mess up our kids in the long run. And we always carry that. So this slide is really for those parents that let their temper show sometimes. They have impatience. They may use inappropriate words on occasion. They let the kids on technology devices too often. And, you get tired of being consistent. You get tired of being an adult. You get tired of being the home leader, the referee, the social worker, the nurse, the routine. You get tired of that. But you need to remember that, parent guilt is normal, and none of us are perfect, that we live life. And the life we live was not given to us on a perfect platter. No one. We have to practice self-compassion. We have to talk to ourselves too about what outcomes we want. And we need to remember that even though these seem like long hours and days, when you look back, it will be short years. And then you always need to do something, that self-care, to encourage yourself. So the next thing I want to talk to you is about place-based education. And this is something that we have intentionally included in our school. I'm a founder of a charter school. And, over 90% of our students are American Indian. And one of the things, and I wanted to do this in the context of camp, because these are some of the opportunities that we noted that were really important for our children. So place-based education immerses students in local heritage, culture, landscapes, and experiences, and it utilizes activities as the basis for studying a variety of academic disciplines. So in other words, we take our core disciplines and we look at how we can be inclusive of our heritage, our local communities, and the people around us. So our approach was very grassroots. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was hard. It's still hard, but it is totally worth it to bring opportunities to our students at Old Mainstream Academy. And on that note, I just want to let you know, even today, one of the things that have recently, we're a very new charter school. We just opened a year ago, but the thing is, even today, we know we did a consortium with our local Indian education, and the politics got into it, and they want to not honor the consortium. So these are the things, and when they say it's with us, and it's with 2 other schools, and the only students that Indian education, of course, is serving are our Indian or Native students. But the issue there is we have to be persistent and consistent about educating our children. So here are some of the things that we do. Like this is one of our pictures, brain development knowings. Children's brains develop in spurts called critical periods. The first occurs around age 2, with the second one during adolescence. And at the start of these periods, the number of connections or synapses between brain cells, which are neurons, doubles. 2-year-olds have twice as many synapses as adults, because these connections between brain cells are where learning occurs. Twice as many synapses enable the brain to learn faster than any other time of life. Therefore, children's experiences in this phase have lasting effects on their development. Now, that's at age 2. But I think it's really important to continue giving those types of opportunities. So this is it's a emerging technology, and they came out, they set it up. But you see, this little girl is very young. This is a field, it's a STEM, and they don't actually expect little girls to participate. But we're bound and determined to not let that be the case. These are all local pictures. We take them to a farm that's local. And you see the cows and the donkeys. Sometimes, you'd be surprised, all our kids don't get to help to see that. This is, we're doing outings to the cultural center. And this is one of those. This is, Reggie works over at our local tribe, but he provides local history. And this is at the actual culture center, but he's explaining how we lived. And of course, you can always align those kinds of standards to like history. And we do it by grade level, So this is at the culture center as well. And in the back, that's one of our sheds. And we also do a club. So we partner with the School of Education. You can see that up there. And we get the kids out of the school. The university is right across. And we have started a STREAM club. STREAM, of course, is science, technology, reading, engineering, arts, and mathematics. But we allow them, we intentionally partner with people who will give them hands-on opportunities. And I'm going to be honest with you, our children, this is our first year, and it's the first year of doing the place-based education in our county. But according to our check-ins, we do check-ins. That's the standard testing that they have in the state. Our children have increased phenomenally on that. Again, this is Reggie. And I think, the important thing here is that we have to make learning relevant. Our children, the identity was not being, our identity was not being, it was not being discussed in the schools. So we have learned how to do that and make it relevant to learning. And make it important to our children, and then learn and teaching them that, not only is it an investment in your identity, but it's an investment in your learning, and your learning is an investment in your community. So tribal advocacy, collaboration, and networking and outreach for our children. So we want to do enrichment programs offered through the Youth Services Department to preserve, educate, and raise awareness to our history, culture, and traditions. And I also wanted to give you just a little bit about the Boys and Girls Club, because that's national, and we also work with at the national level, and it's from ages 6 to 18. So this summer, these are camps. This is what is going to be offered right here locally. It's understand who I am. I have a plan. I take care of myself. And these are some of the pictures from the past. They also go out to the Culture Center. I did some work and grant writing for them, and it's wonderful. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's so organized. And I put our youth services manager's name on there because the camps are very, they support our children and the efforts for learning. And here are some of those pictures that they do with, the gardening, the marbles, archery, the stickball, all of that is through the clubs. And here are some of those other services. I will do this, I partner on grants. So we did a project Indie Choice. And so these are some of the services that they offer. And it's all free to our kids. All they have to do is have their parents sign up, and, we make sure, and they have the tutoring through the year. We have transportation. So it's a really good fit. Here's Project 3C this summer. They're going to be going to Discovering DC. And, the other thing about that is that we have folks from the community, Indigenous people that work in some of these positions. So we always can connect with them, and, they're open to any tribe, but they will connect with you and they will help you plan so that your kids can get out and really enjoy this in an environment, and we can do it together, so our kids are comfortable, even though they're going into a new setting and they're learning new things. Here's the Cummings Aerospace. She's very, very proactive. She hosts camps every summer for Indigenous kids. And, our students just love it. Our children do. And I did do a little handout for you. So that will be the end. And Dr. Allison can use that to her discretion. Are there any questions? Can you hear me, Dr. Allison? You're on mute.
I'm muted, sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, thank you. I know one of the ladies that was in the session with us was asking about specifics for how do you start to look for what's available in your area. I saw a lot of the great ideas for the UNC Lumbee community, but then where do you start to look in your own community? What are some of your best suggestions?
Well, I think that we actually had to build up the education expectation in our tribe, in the tribal complex. It was a lot about housing. It was a lot, just those programs that they assisted, but they didn't have the focus on the children. So one of the first things, that we need to do is to expect our tribal leaders to prioritize our children. And you can do that through the tribal council. You can do that through advocating. The other thing is, and I know that a lot of people may go to tribal schools, a lot of them go to public schools. I mean, it's so different now, but I think that it's important for us to have presence wherever your children are in school and to ask about, these kinds of opportunities. Now, I know Indian Education, the Office of Indian Education, they give lots of money out to tribes across the United States. So those monies are available for our children to have these kinds of opportunities. So that's another thing that you need to, that would be helpful, is to find out who serves in the Indian Education in the schools, because usually the districts do get money for that. If it's in the State Department, so they usually get money. It's like Title IX, Title I. It's like, all those federal programs. There is a program specifically for Office of Indian Education.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions or comments or need clarification on some of the information that was shared? Or perhaps I can ask, what have you planned for your youth in your area? Do any of you have any ideas or suggestions you'd like to make for those of us who are attending today? I know the Boys and Girls Club is prevalent across the country. It's not just in North Carolina.
No. And she's actually on LinkedIn. If you look up Carla Knapp, and that's a good, and they come and do professional development, in the clubs with the adults. So, you could just reach out, people could reach out and say, what would it look like for us to have a Boys and Girls Club here on, in our community?
I know here in my area where I live in Minnesota, the Boys and Girls Club have partnered with the local food bank, even before school's out for the summer. So they provide after school snacks for children. So that's another good opportunity to look at what is also being provided nutritionally for children. We talked about the physical activity, engaging them. So they have some consistent brain activity and they're still learning in a fun way, looking at creative activities. But also we need to think about how are children being sustained with nutritional foods. And so that's something you may want to also look into for suggestions for your community and the children. Well, Dr. Brenda, I really appreciate all the information that you shared. I may have one or two more slides to go over before we close out today's session. If they're on there, be great.
Okay, you want me to stop sharing?
They should be at the end of your presentation.
Yes.
Okay, somebody shared a file with us.
That's me. I'm Carol.
Okay, Carol.
I shared our file here at the I am the case manager here at the Kansas City Indian Center. And I want to give my daughter kudos. I see JoJo Blackwood. Raise your hand, JoJo. She's going to be one of our camp counselors, and she's also our community garden assistant. But we're going to be back in person for summer camp in Kansas City, and it's going to be held June 1st through June 5th. So we are excited about it. It'll be my first time, and it'll be JoJo's first time being a camp counselor. So this is a learning experience for all of us.
That's really great.
Yeah. Do you know how many children?
Let's see. I do think it caps out at about maybe 20. I'd have to double check.
Yeah, that's a good number. Yeah. give you some personalized attention. Yeah.
And the best part, it's only $20, and we do have a special pool that it's a zero depth entry for our kiddos where they could swim. They could just, if they're if they have a disability, they could just just get in very easily with their wheelchair.
That's good. Yeah.
But we are doing archery. JoJo's learning how to do archery, and she's really crazy good at it.
I'm not. She's lying.
No, you're good. You're natural.
So this is all going to take place in Kansas, right, Carol?
Well, we are at the Kansas City Indian Center, but it's actually going to be in Lee Summit, Missouri. It's a wooded area.
Okay. I see. I want to answer one question that's in the chat, and then I'll turn it over to Shane to ask his question. But somebody asked about the slides and the information that's presented today. And yes, Mitch, this will all be emailed to you all. Probably not till next week, but you know that you'll have the information available to you to review. And if you have questions, we'll include Dr. Brenda, if you want to put your email address in the chat
Sure.
box, that might be helpful. Thank you. Shane?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Just getting used to this headset that I just bought. Hopefully everybody's doing well this afternoon. The question was like, does anybody have any like ideas or what do you do with your children? Okay. I just want to make sure I was kind of doing multiple things at once, which normally doesn't happen for me. What we do with our kid is because we're also language learners, so we're as we're learning, we're also teaching him. So we've been putting the language on sticky notes and putting it on things that he normally comes across like every day. And it's also like been helping us too, because sometimes we forget about some of these things. And there's a school in Wisconsin, I think it's called Wadukadadi, and they focus more on like language. I mean, there's other academics that that are important, but they also want to make sure that like our children are learning the language, because they say the younger ones probably absorb faster and better than adults. So but just to name something, that's what we do. Is I'm sure everybody here has like a different dialect where they say things, but it's just real simple things like on the colors. I'll ask them, what is that? And then, sometimes they'll say it in English and sometimes they'll say it in our language. So that's just like an idea, something we do.
And this is in Wisconsin, Shane?
Yeah, there's a school that's in Wisconsin, but I live in northern Michigan. So, my wife, she's Odawa, Ojibwe, I'm Potawatomi. They're similar as far as like the language goes, but they're also somewhat some similarities there too. So I'm not sure what everybody speaks or what region they're from, but it's Anishinaabe, Moan, or Potawatomi language.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. I know many schools, traditional academic schools, don't always offer tribal languages. So if you have that summer opportunity where they're not focusing on academics, it's a good opportunity to encourage them to learn tradition and culture, and language is a huge part of that. So that's another great idea, Shane. Thank you for sharing that. Who else would like to share about what they have planned or what they're thinking of doing with our Native youth this summer? I know a few people had to hop off. I want to thank you all for staying on, sharing what's going on in your community. Yes, I mentioned it. Someone just messaged me again if we're going to go ahead and share the information. Yes, the information will be shared with you. Again, it may not be today, but next week sometime we'll definitely get a chance to send this out to you all for participating. Any last thoughts, Dr. Brenda?
Yeah, I just, it's just take your time and really kind of like embrace the moment you have with your kids and with your grands, with the little ones. I mean, they are precious. It's just precious. And I believe that, we're here to make sure that they are healthy and protected and, can develop in every holistic way possible. So, just carry that with you as we go through the summer.
Yeah, it's really important that we hit on all the important aspects of life. It's not just about teaching and training the mind. We need to focus in on how we hit the spirit, the mind, body, spirit with our children. And know that over the summer, we're going to be having a couple of different series going on, offered by the Native Center that we oversee for K through 12 education. We're going to focus on mindfulness and how we can work with learning those skills ourselves, but imparting them to our children, whether it's through movement or through sound healing and recognition of that. And then we're also going to talk about the importance of our ancestral foods. And I know Dr. Brenda touched in on gardening, and someone else put in the chat box, focusing on nature with the kids for the summer. It's a great time when the weather is good to be outdoors and it's not too cold or not too horrible probably. But so be on the lookout for our newsletter that's going to be coming out. It'll be sent out hopefully in the next week or so for spring. And it'll have our upcoming calendar of events, which will include a day of self-care for those who work with our Native children and youth. We have a really great keynote speaker, Dr. Rebecca Foster, and then we'll have some examples of what the summer sessions will be like, because it's an opportunity not only for us to engage with our children, but to also rejuvenate ourselves and take time to take care of ourselves so that we can be our best, whether we're a teacher or whether we're a counselor or we're a summer program person like JoJo for the first time, but just to know that we need to be our best to serve our children. So take time for yourself to go outside and enjoy what's out there. I see Lynette sharing some ideas with her culture camp. So thank you for that up in Alaska. Very nice. Is there anything else you want to share, Lynette?
Yeah. So the culture camp is done in June. Kids can come all ages. Under 3 is with parental supervision, of course, because there's just not enough to go around. We have about 20 kids that attend culture camp. Part of everyday lesson in our Yani Da'a school is language. We feel like language is a very important part of culture, and they enjoy learning about where we come from. So it's a week-long culture camp. They teach the kids about subsistence, fishing, processing those fish, hunting, learning how to use bow and arrow, and process moose and things that go back to being able to take care of yourself. Also, a big thing is for them to remember to respect their elders. The elders also come and join us through culture camp, and the kids will make them necklaces or do some kind of a beading project or something, and our elders really really enjoy it also. And it's good for the kids to be able to talk to the elders. They learn lessons that way too, by story. So yeah, culture camp has been a really good thing up here. And the kids go away with a lot of self-confidence.
Sounds like a lot of great ideas going on up in Alaska. I've only been to Nome, so it's really good that you're doing a lot of activities, including parents is important. I know that was something that Dr. Brenda and I spoke of when we were planning, is how do we incorporate and include parents in sessions also, as much as we can. In the chat box, I see that Mitch also added family camp, and that's a great idea to have parents and grandmas and aunties and everybody come join for camp sometimes too, so we can all experience and see what nature's doing for us, the importance of connecting with nature. In the chat, I put if you're not on our mailing list already, you want to join our mailing list so that you can get all the emails that go out, letting you know about the sessions that we offer and the good things going on with us. You're welcome to take care of that today. And then I'm also going to put one more link that takes you to our landing page, so you can see some of the resources that we've been publishing recently for our Native youth and families and educators and tribal leaders. You'll see, like I said, upcoming events, there's a calendar on there, as well as any products that we have for how to address mental health issues. We have a toolkit coming out for the month of May, focusing specifically on addressing mental health in the K-12 setting, with different responsibilities and opportunities for us as educators and leaders with our Native youth. And then any of our sessions that are upcoming, any products that we have, and you can always email us and let us know what you're wanting to learn more about and how you can help support us. It's really, really important to us. Yes, all children are sacred. Thank you, Shane. That's a good reminder, that we give our children the time they deserve to learn and grow in a healthy and safe setting. And so with that, I just want to remind you that the survey is really important to our team because it helps us write our reports to our funders so that we can continue to provide opportunities for you all in technical assistance and webinars and product development and working directly with you all so that you can continue to serve your community. So please let us know if you have questions or comments afterwards. Dr. Brenda put her email in the chat box, so you can think of questions over the weekend and then reach out to her if something comes to mind later on after we leave today. And then you can always contact our staff at the Native Center for Behavioral Health for more comments and questions, as well as suggestions. We always look forward to that. Dr. Brenda, any last words before we sign off for today?
Thank you. I mean, I just really appreciate everybody joining us and valuing the children in their community.
Yes, thank you all very much. We're going to give you back about 20 minutes of your day today as we end a little bit early. We're going to thank the Creator for bringing us together and continue to process and help our children journey and grow in a very healthy way so that they are productive, so that they are happy and healthy and whole. And so again, we thank you for joining us today. Have a good weekend, everybody.